I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from, because what happened at my daughter's wedding changed everything I thought I knew about motherhood and sacrifice. I did not expect my own daughter to say the words that would split my life in half. Not on her wedding night. Not while 200 guests waited with champagne glasses raised. Not while the band played soft melodies by the James River. But Sarah turned toward me in her white gown bouquet trembling in her hands and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "I wish you weren't my mother." The music stopped. A fork clattered to the floor. Every eye in that reception hall turned from her face to mine, waiting to see if the 63-year-old woman in the simple blue dress would crumble. I did not. But to understand how we reached that moment, I need to take you back 6 months. Back to when I thought I was building my daughter's dream. Back to when I didn't realize I was erasing myself in the process. 6 months before this wedding, my alarm went off at 5:30 in the morning, same as it had for the past 12 years. My small apartment in Shockoe Bottom was quiet, except for the hum of the old refrigerator and the distant sound of delivery trucks on the cobblestone streets below. I made my coffee and opened my laptop to the spreadsheet I'd been updating every week. Wedding budget, Sarah and Ethan. The numbers had grown so large they'd stopped feeling real. Venue deposit $15,000 paid. Catering down payment $22,000 paid. Dress and alterations $8,500 paid. The list went on and on. My finger hovered over the total at the bottom. $173,000. With the honeymoon resort and the apartment deposit still to come, we were looking at just over $200,000. I closed the laptop and pressed my palms against my eyes. 12 years ago, when my husband Tom died of a sudden heart attack in the lobby of an office building downtown, he left me with a mountain of medical debt and a 12-year-old daughter who couldn't stop crying. Sarah had been Daddy's girl. Losing him nearly destroyed her. So I made a promise to myself that night, sitting alone in our bedroom while Sarah slept fitfully down the hall. I would give her everything. Every opportunity Tom would have wanted her to have. Every chance at the life we'd dreamed of for her. I worked 3 jobs that first year. Bookkeeping at Chen's Antique Shop on East Main Street during the day. Front desk at the Governor's Inn in the evenings. Weekend catering gigs whenever I could get them. Sarah got into Harvard on a partial scholarship. I covered the rest. She graduated top of her class and landed a job at a prestigious law firm in Richmond. She met Ethan Blake at a charity gala 18 months ago. And now here we were. A wedding that cost more than most people's houses. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "Mom, can you meet me at the bridal shop at 2? They need your signature on the final payment." I typed back, "I'll be there." What I didn't type, I just took out a $50,000 personal loan at 18% interest to cover what's left. I set my coffee down and walked to my dresser. In the bottom drawer, wrapped in tissue paper, was a framed photo from Sarah's 7th birthday. She'd drawn a picture that day of her perfect wedding in crayon. 2 stick figures in white dresses holding hands. One tall, one small. "Me and Mommy at my wedding," she'd written at the bottom in wobbly letters. I traced my finger over the smaller stick figure. When had I stopped being part of the picture then? Sarah Morrison sat in her corner office on the 14th floor looking out over downtown Richmond. On paper, her life was perfect. 6-figure salary. Corner office by age 29. Engagement to Ethan Blake, whose family name opened doors she'd only dreamed of as a kid. But sitting here now reviewing the wedding seating chart for the 3rd time, all she could feel was the tight knot of anxiety that lived permanently in her chest. Her phone rang. Victoria Ashford Blake, her future mother-in-law. "Sarah, darling, I hope I'm not interrupting." "Not at all, Victoria. What can I do for you?" "I was thinking about the reception timeline. Have you considered having your mother's speech earlier in the evening, perhaps right after cocktail hour before the main toasts? That way, if she gets emotional, it won't disrupt the flow." Sarah's jaw tightened. "Actually, I was thinking we might skip the mother of the bride speech altogether. Keep things streamlined." A pause. "Oh, well, that's certainly your choice, dear. I just thought, well, tradition and all that." "I know. I just want everything to feel polished, professional." "Of course, you know best. I'll let you go. See you at the venue walkthrough tomorrow." "I'll be there." Sarah hung up and immediately hated herself. She pulled up a photo on her phone. Her 7th birthday. She was holding a crayon drawing of 2 brides holding hands. She remembered that day. Remembered feeling like nothing could ever come between her and her mom. But that was before middle school. Before the other kids noticed her Goodwill clothes and free lunch card. Before Emma Patterson asked loudly in the cafeteria, "Is your mom a janitor or something? My dad said she works like 3 jobs." Before Sarah learned that where you came from mattered just as much as where you were going. She'd gotten a scholarship to a private high school, then Harvard, then built a career that put her in rooms with people who summered in the Hamptons and wintered in Aspen. And now Ethan, sweet, kind Ethan, who'd never had to worry about money a day in his life, who took her to Windsor Farms to meet his mother and didn't understand why Sarah felt sick to her stomach the entire drive there. Sarah loved her mother. God, she loved her so much it hurt. But Catherine Morrison, with her sensible shoes and careful budgeting and 2 jobs just to make ends meet, didn't fit into the life Sarah had built. And Sarah didn't know how to make room for both. The first dinner at the Blake family estate in Windsor Farms felt less like a welcome and more like a test I hadn't studied for. Victoria Ashford Blake opened the door with a smile that never quite reached her eyes. She was elegant in the way only old money could be. Pearl earrings, cashmere cardigan, not a hair out of place. "Catherine," she said, taking my hand briefly. "So lovely you could make it. We keep things casual here. Nothing fancy." The crystal chandelier above her head and the marble floors under my feet told a different story. Sarah appeared behind Victoria, already glowing under her approval. "Mom, come in. Wait until you see the dining room. It's gorgeous." Victoria waved a hand. "Oh, it's nothing. Just a little update we did after the remodel. Hardly worth mentioning." But she led us straight there, and I could tell she wanted us to be impressed. The dining room was beautiful. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a manicured garden. A table that could seat 12 easily. Fresh flowers in a crystal vase. I thought about my own dining table, the one I'd bought at a yard sale and refinished myself. The one where Sarah and I had eaten spaghetti dinners and done homework for years. "Catherine, you must tell us about yourself," Victoria said once we were seated. "Sarah's mentioned you work in bookkeeping." "I do bookkeeping at an antique shop during the day," I said, "and I work the front desk at the Governor's Inn most evenings." "2 jobs," Victoria said. Her tone was pleasant, but something flickered in her eyes. "That must keep you very busy." Sarah shifted in her chair. "Mom's always been a hard worker." "Hard work builds character," Victoria said as if she knew anything about it. Ethan cleared his throat. "Mrs. Morrison Sarah told me you basically put her through Harvard by yourself. That's incredible." I smiled at him. I liked Ethan. He had kind eyes and a genuineness his mother seemed to lack. Sarah earned her spot there. I just helped where I could. "Helped," Sarah said quickly. "Mom helped. It wasn't like she paid for everything. But I had. We both knew I had." The conversation moved on, but I felt myself shrinking in my chair. Every topic seemed designed to highlight the gap between their world and mine. Their recent trip to Italy, the fundraiser Gala Victoria was chairing, the family's summer home on Lake Morrison. Halfway through dessert, the wedding planner arrived, Layla Chen, efficient and energetic with a portfolio of mock-ups. "I have the updated program designs," she said brightly. "We adjusted the layout for better symmetry." Victoria took the papers before I could reach for them. She slid them towards Sarah. I leaned over to look. The programs were beautiful, cream cardstock with gold lettering. But something was off. At the top, in elegant script, "The Blake and Morrison families invite you to celebrate the marriage of Sarah Catherine Morrison and Ethan James Blake." Below that, in smaller print, "Hosted by Mr. and Mrs. Richard Blake." My name was at the very bottom, almost an afterthought. "With gratitude to Mrs. Catherine Morrison." With gratitude, like I was a generous vendor, not the mother of the bride. "This looks perfect," Sarah said quickly. "Clean and elegant." "We can still make adjustments," Layla said, glancing at me. "If anything needs to change." Victoria tapped the page. "No, I think this captures it beautifully. Don't you agree, Catherine?" What could I say that I'd been relegated to a footnote in my own daughter's wedding, that I was paying for nearly everything but being credited for almost nothing? "It's fine," I heard myself say. Sarah wouldn't meet my eyes. The drive home that night, I cried in my car in the parking lot of my apartment building for 20 minutes before I could go inside. A week later, Victoria called me. "Catherine, I hope this isn't too forward, but I'd love to take you to lunch. Just the 2 of us. There's something I'd like to discuss." We met at a bistro near the river. Victoria was already seated when I arrived, looking polished in a cream blouse and designer sunglasses. She ordered us both wine without asking what I wanted. "I'll get straight to the point," she said once the waiter left. "I know weddings are expensive, extraordinarily so, and I know Sarah has been managing a great deal of the financial burden herself." My back straightened. "Sarah and I are handling it." "I'm sure you are." Victoria's smile was kind, which somehow made it worse. "But I lost my husband 5 years ago. I know what it's like to carry everything alone, the weight of it." Something in her voice caught me off guard. For the first time, I saw past the perfect exterior to something real underneath. "I'm sorry for your loss," I said quietly. "And I for yours. Sarah mentioned you lost Tom when she was young." We sat in silence for a moment. "What I wanted to say," Victoria continued, "is that I'd like to contribute to the wedding, as a gift, between mothers. You shouldn't have to shoulder this alone." Pride flared in my chest. "That's generous, but we're fine." "Catherine," she leaned forward, "there's no shame in accepting help. Richard left me comfortable, more than comfortable. Let me do this." "Why?" I asked bluntly. She blinked. "What do you mean? Why do you want to help? You barely know me." Victoria sat back considering. "Because I see how hard you're working. Because I know what it's like to want everything perfect for your child. And because," she paused, "because I think we could be allies in this. Mothers who understand what it means to sacrifice." I wanted to say yes. God, I wanted to say yes so badly, to let someone else carry some of the weight for once. But something held me back. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was the fear that accepting her money would mean accepting her control. "I appreciate the offer," I said carefully, "but I need to do this myself." Victoria nodded. "I understand, but the offer stands. No strings attached. You ever need it, you just say the word." We finished lunch talking about Sarah and Ethan, about the wedding plans, about nothing that mattered. But when I got home that night, I couldn't stop thinking about her words. No strings attached. Nothing in life came without strings. I'd learned that the hard way. 2 weeks later, I sat across from a loan officer at Richmond Community Bank. Marcus Chen looked tired. He was around 40, with graying hair and reading glasses perched on his nose. He'd been reviewing my application for 20 minutes. "Mrs. Morrison," he finally said, "I have to be honest with you. At your age, with your current income and existing debt load, a $50,000 personal loan is risky. I understand that. The interest rate would be high, 18% given your credit profile. I understand. May I ask what this is for?" I met his eyes. "My daughter's wedding." He set down his pen. $50,000 for a wedding. Is that a problem? It's your money to spend how you choose. I just want to make sure you understand what you're taking on. At this rate, you'll be paying nearly $900 a month for 7 years. That's on top of your current expenses. $900 a month. I made about $4,200 between both jobs. "I understand," I said again. Marcus sighed. "Mrs. Morrison, I have a daughter too. I get it. But have you talked to your daughter about this? Does she know you're taking on this kind of debt for her wedding?" "She doesn't need to know." "Respectfully, maybe she should. Maybe if she understood, Mr. Chen." I kept my voice level. "My daughter deserves this day. She's worked hard her entire life, overcome more than most people could imagine. If I can give her this one perfect thing, then that's what I'm going to do." He studied me for a long moment. Then he picked up his pen. "I'll approve the loan, but I'm going to say something first, and I hope you'll forgive me for overstepping." I nodded. "Sometimes the greatest gift we can give our children is teaching them that love isn't measured in dollars, that they don't need perfect things to be worthy of happiness." His words sat heavy in my chest. "Thank you for the advice," I said. "May I sign the papers now?" He slid them across the desk. My hand shook as I signed my name, but I did it anyway. That Saturday, my brother Bobby showed up at my apartment with pizza and beer. Robert Morrison was 3 years younger than me, with calloused hands from 30 years as a mechanic and a divorce behind him that had left him cynical about marriage in general. "How's the wedding planning going?" he asked, handing me a beer. "Fine. Fine," he repeated. "Kate, you look exhausted. When's the last time you slept more than 5 hours?" "I sleep fine." "Bullshit. He took a bite of pizza. How much are you into this thing for, Bobby? How much? I set down my beer. A lot. How much is a lot? Just over 200,000. He choked on his pizza. Jesus Christ, Kate. Are you insane? It's what Sarah wants. It's what Sarah wants or what that fancy new family of hers wants. Don't start. I'm serious. Sarah's a grown woman with a good job. She can't pay for her own wedding. She's contributing. How much? I didn't answer. Bobby leaned back, shaking his head. You're setting yourself on fire to keep her warm, and she doesn't even see the flames. She's been through a lot, I said quietly. Losing Tom, the bullying in school. She deserves to be happy. So do you. His voice rose. Who's taking care of you? Who's making sure you're happy? I'm fine. You took out a loan, didn't you? A big one. I looked away. Kate, his voice softened. Sweetheart, you've got to stop doing this. Doing what? Erasing yourself for her. You think this is what Tom would want. You working yourself to death. Tom wanted Sarah to have every opportunity. Tom wanted you to have a life too. Bobby reached across the table and took my hand. Remember when Sarah asked to borrow Dad's pocket watch, that heirloom from Grandpa, the one Dad left for both of us? I stiffened. Bobby, she was young. She didn't mean to lose it. She took it to impress her college friends and never brought it back. And you never told me because you didn't want me to think badly of her. It was an accident. Was it? Or did she just not care enough to keep track of it? Bobby, please. He squeezed my hand. I love Sarah. You know I do. But love isn't letting people walk all over you. Love is also boundaries, consequences, reality. I pulled my hand back. The wedding is happening. I'm paying for it. That's the end of the discussion. Bobby stood up. Fine. But when this all blows up in your face, and it will don't say I didn't warn you. He left the pizza and took his beer. I sat alone in my apartment and cried for the second time that month. The bridal shower was held at the James River Country Club. Of course it was. Victoria had insisted on hosting. It's tradition, she'd said. The groom's mother hosts the shower. I'd offered to help, maybe host something smaller at my place for Sarah's work friends. Victoria had smiled and said, That's sweet, Catherine, but we really should keep it all together. More cohesive that way. So I showed up to the country club in my nicest dress, carrying the gift I'd spent weeks on. I'd made Sarah a photo album. Every picture from her childhood that I'd carefully preserved. Her first day of school, Halloween costumes, birthday parties, a photo of her and Tom at her 8th grade graduation just months before he died. I'd handwritten captions for each one, added pressed flowers from our old garden, bound it all in leather. It had taken me 3 months and cost almost nothing, but it was filled with love. The country club ballroom was decorated in blush pink and gold. 50 women in designer clothes sipped champagne and nibbled on finger sandwiches. I didn't recognize half of them. Sarah spotted me and waved. She looked beautiful in a white sundress, her hair perfectly styled. Mom, you made it? She kissed my cheek, and for a moment everything felt okay. Then Victoria appeared. Catherine, wonderful. We saved you a seat at table 4. Table 4 was in the back corner, near the bathroom. I smiled. Thank you. The gift opening happened after brunch. Sarah sat in a decorated chair while women took turns presenting their boxes. Tiffany silverware from Victoria's college friend, a Le Creuset set from a cousin, Pottery Barn bedding from Sarah's law firm partner. Each gift more expensive than the last. Then Sarah reached for mine. She unwrapped it carefully, opened the leather cover. Her face changed. Something flickered in her eyes. Embarrassment, pain, I couldn't tell. It's a photo album, I said unnecessarily. I thought you might like to have all those memories in one place. Victoria leaned over her shoulder. How personal. You know, store-bought is so impersonal these days. There's something to be said for handmade gifts. She meant it kindly. I think she meant it kindly. But Sarah quickly closed the album and set it aside. Thanks, Mom. This is really sweet. Sweet. The word every expensive gift gets when someone's trying to be polite. She moved on to the next present. Later during dessert, one of Victoria's friends asked me, So, Catherine, what do you do? Before I could answer, Sarah jumped in. Mom's semi-retired. She dabbles in antiques. I felt like I'd been slapped. Oh, how lovely, the woman said. Any particular specialty? My voice caught. I do bookkeeping at an antique shop. Sarah's face flushed. Same thing. But it wasn't. It wasn't the same thing at all. That night I got home and saw I had a text from Sarah. Thank you for the album, Mom. It really is beautiful. I love you. I stared at those words. She loved me. I knew she loved me. So why did it hurt so much? And the rehearsal dinner was held at the James River Country Club 2 nights before the wedding. I'd bought a new dress for the occasion. Navy blue. Simple but elegant. It had cost more than I wanted to spend, but I wanted to look nice. Wanted to fit in. The hostess checked her list when I arrived. Catherine Morrison, you're at table 12. Table 12. I looked around the ballroom. Table 12 was in the very back near the kitchen service doors. Sarah sat at the head table with Ethan Victoria and Ethan's best man. She was laughing at something Victoria said. Her face lit up in a way I hadn't seen in months. I made my way to my table. The other guests were people I didn't know, distant relatives of Ethan's. They smiled politely and went back to their conversations. From my seat, I had to squint to see Sarah clearly. The dinner began. The food was exquisite. I barely tasted it. After the main course, the toasts started. Victoria went first. She stood elegant in a champagne-colored gown and raised her glass. To my soon-to-be daughter-in-law, Sarah. From the moment Ethan brought you home, I knew you were special. Your intelligence, your grace, your ambition. You've brought such joy to our family, and I cannot wait to officially welcome you into the Blake family. Applause. Sarah beamed. Ethan's best man went next. A funny, warm toast about Ethan's terrible college dating choices and how lucky he was that Sarah had said yes. More laughter, more applause. Then the microphone was passed around for anyone who wanted to say a few words. I waited. Surely Sarah would say something. Surely she would acknowledge that I was here. Sarah stood. The room quieted. I just want to thank everyone who made this possible, she began. Her voice was steady, confident. Victoria and Richard, your generosity has been overwhelming. You've made me feel like part of your family from day one. My heart started to pound. To Layla, our amazing planner, for keeping us sane. To my bridesmaids for putting up with my crazy ideas. And to Ethan, she turned to him, eyes shining. Thank you for choosing me. For seeing me. For loving all the parts of me, even the messy ones. She sat down. The room erupted in applause. She hadn't mentioned me. Not once. Ashley, one of Sarah's bridesmaids, leaned toward me from the next table. I thought she was going to thank you. She told me yesterday she had a whole thing written about you. I couldn't speak. That's weird, Ashley continued. I wonder why she changed her mind. I wondered too. After dinner wound down, I approached Sarah near the dessert table. Sweetheart, I said gently, I thought maybe you were going to mention Mom. She cut me off quickly. Victoria thought it would be better to keep the speeches short. You know how it is. Long toasts make people restless. I wasn't going to give a toast. I just thought, can we not do this right now? Her voice had an edge. It's been a long day. I'm exhausted. Victoria appeared at her elbow. Sarah, dear, the photographer wants a few more family shots before everyone leaves. Coming? Sarah touched my arm briefly. We'll talk later, okay? But we didn't. I sat at table 12 until the servers started clearing plates. Then I gathered my purse and left. Outside in my car, I finally let myself cry. The morning of Sarah's wedding, I woke at dawn. I'd spent the night in a room at the Governor's Inn. Sarah had suggested I stay there instead of driving from my apartment. It'll be easier, Mom. You'll be closer to the venue. What she didn't say, she didn't want me at the bridal suite with the other women getting ready. I made coffee in the tiny room coffee maker and pulled out the note I'd written the night before. 3 paragraphs, handwritten on cream cardstock. My hands shook as I read it over one more time. My darling Sarah, today you marry a man who looks at you with wonder and respect. Hold on to that. Love like that is rare and precious. I've watched you grow into a woman I barely recognize sometimes. Brilliant, accomplished, polished in ways I could never be. I'm so proud. But I wonder if I did this to you if I taught you that love comes with conditions, that belonging requires you to hide parts of yourself. If I did, I'm sorry. You will always be the girl who made me dandelion crowns and called them diamonds. You are enough exactly as you are. Not because of what you've achieved or who you've married, but because you're mine. I love you, even when you don't want me to. Mom. I folded the note carefully and put it in an envelope. At 9 o'clock, I drove to the bridal suite at the venue. The door was propped open and I could hear laughter and music inside. Sarah's bridesmaids were everywhere. Hair curlers, makeup brushes, champagne bottles already open. Sarah sat in front of a ring light, her makeup half done, looking more nervous than I'd ever seen her. She spotted me in the mirror. Mom, hi. Hi, sweetheart. I held up the envelope. I brought you something, just a little note. Before I could hand it to her, one of the bridesmaids called out, Sarah, the photographer needs you for getting ready shots. Sarah stood quickly. Mom, can we talk for just a second in private? She pulled me into a small hallway away from the chaos. Listen, she said, her voice low and tight. I need you to do something for me today. Of course, anything. I need you not to say anything at the reception. No speech, no stories. Just enjoy the night quietly. Please. The words hit me like a physical blow. I wasn't planning a long speech, I said carefully. I just thought I could say a few words. I wrote this note. We don't have time for that right now. She gestured back toward the suite. Charlotte keeps texting me about staying on schedule. She says weddings get messy when people go off script. I'm not people. I'm your mother. I know. Her voice cracked slightly. I know you are. But today needs to be perfect, Mom. Perfect. And I can't handle emotional things right now. Victoria says brides who cry look puffy in photos. I stared at my daughter. When had she started caring more about photos than feelings, Sarah? Please, Mom. Her eyes were desperate. Please just let today be what it needs to be. What it needed to be. Not what I needed, not what we needed. What Victoria and the photographers and the 200 guests needed. I put the envelope back in my purse. Okay, I heard myself say. Okay. Relief flooded her face. Thank you. You're the best. She kissed my cheek quickly and hurried back to the makeup chair. I stood in that hallway for a long moment, the envelope heavy in my hands. A groomsman passed by, adjusting his cufflinks. Morning, Mrs. Morrison. Victoria told me you're the sentimental type. She's on high alert. He said it like a joke. I couldn't even smile. The ceremony was beautiful. I sat in the third row because Victoria had insisted the front row was for immediate family on both sides, which apparently meant her relatives but not me. Sarah walked down the aisle on Bobby's arm. I'd asked Bobby to give her away since Tom couldn't. He'd been honored. She looked stunning. The dress fit perfectly. Her hair was pulled back in an elegant updo. She looked like a princess. She looked like someone I didn't know. When she reached the altar, she glanced at the front row. At Victoria, at Ethan's aunts and uncles. Her eyes passed right over me. The vows were traditional, beautiful. Sarah's voice shook when she promised to love Ethan in sickness and in health. Ethan's vow surprised me. He took Sarah's hands and said off script, I promise to help you become who you're meant to be. Not who you think you should be. Just you. That's all I want. All I need. For a moment, Sarah's carefully composed face crumpled. Real emotion broke through. Then she blinked it away and smiled. They kissed. Everyone applauded. I cried. But they were complicated tears. The reception venue was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the James River. String lights everywhere. Tables set with cream linens and gold accents. Centerpieces of white roses and eucalyptus. 200 guests filled the space. The who's who of Richmond society, plus Sarah's law firm colleagues, and a handful of our old neighbors who'd known her since she was small. My table was nice. Table 8 this time. Closer to the action than the rehearsal dinner at least. But still not the family table. I watched Sarah and Ethan dance their first dance. They looked happy. Genuinely happy. Maybe that's all that mattered. Maybe I was being selfish. Dinner was served. Speeches began. Victoria's toast was gracious and warm. She welcomed Sarah into the family with words that sounded genuine. The best man's toast was funny. The maid of honor cried through hers. And then, the master of ceremonies stepped up to the microphone. And now, he announced cheerfully, we'll hear a few words from the mother of the bride, Catherine Morrison. My breath stopped. What I looked at Sarah. Her head snapped toward me, eyes wide with panic. Around me, people started clapping. I stood slowly, my legs shaking. But before I could take 2 steps, Sarah moved. She practically ran to the microphone in her dress and heels, nearly tripping over the train. "Actually," she said with a bright, forced laugh, "we're going to skip that. Keep things short and sweet tonight." The MC looked confused. "Oh, are you sure I have it right here on the schedule?" "I'm sure." Sarah's voice was tight. I stood frozen between my table and the dance floor. Every eye in the room was on us now. Ethan stood up from his seat. "Sarah, it's fine. Let your mom, Ethan." She shot him a look. "Not now." I started to walk back to my table. "Mom, wait." Sarah grabbed my arm. Her voice dropped to a hiss. "You were going to do this anyway, weren't you? Even though I asked you not to." "I didn't, the MC. You always do this. You always make everything about yourself." Her voice had risen. People were staring. "Sarah," I said quietly, "I just wanted to say a few words. Nothing long. I'm your mother." Her face twisted with something I'd never seen before. Rage, shame, desperation all mixed together, and then she said it. "I wish you weren't my mother." The words exploded into the room like a gunshot. The band stopped playing mid-note. Someone gasped. A champagne glass fell and shattered on the floor. 200 people froze. I felt my world tilt sideways. Time seemed to slow down. I could see everything with perfect clarity. Victoria's hand covering her mouth in shock. Ethan staring at Sarah like he'd never seen her before. The bridesmaids frozen in their seats. Bobby halfway out of his chair, his face dark with anger. And Sarah, my daughter, standing there in her white dress, her perfect makeup, her carefully styled hair, looking at me like I was a stranger she wanted to erase. 63 years on this earth had taught me a lot of things. How to survive loss, how to work until my hands ached, how to keep going when everything hurt. And in that moment, I learned one more thing. I learned how to choose myself. I straightened my spine, took a deep breath. "If that is what you truly want," I said, my voice steady and clear, "then consider it done." Sarah's face went white. "Mom, I didn't," but I was already moving. I walked calmly to where she stood, kissed her cheek. She flinched. "I love you," I whispered. "I always will, but I won't be where I'm not wanted." I stepped back. The silence in that room was deafening. I picked up my clutch from the table, nodded at Bobby, who started to follow me. "Stay," I told him quietly. "She's going to need family." Then I walked out of the reception hall, through the doors, into the cool night air. Behind me, I heard someone start crying. I didn't turn around. I got in my car. And for the first time in 12 years, I didn't cry. I felt something else instead. Relief. I drove for 20 minutes before I realized I had nowhere to go. Not back to my apartment. Not yet. I couldn't face those empty rooms knowing what I'd just walked away from. Instead, I found myself pulling into the parking lot of a small riverside overlook. The same place Tom and I used to bring Sarah when she was little. When we'd spread out a blanket and eat sandwiches and watch the boats go by. I turned off the engine and sat in the dark. My phone was already buzzing. Text after text. "Bobby, where are you? Are you okay?" Ashley, the bridesmaid. "Mrs. Morrison, I'm so sorry, that was horrible." A number I didn't recognize. "This is Layla, the wedding planner. I just wanted to check on you." And Sarah. 3 texts from Sarah. "Mom, Mom, please." I didn't mean it. I turned my phone face down on the passenger seat. My hands were steady now, calmer than they'd been in months. I opened my purse and pulled out the folder I'd been carrying for weeks. Wedding contracts, receipts, payment confirmations. Everything that held Sarah's perfect day together. The venue contract. Balance due $45,000. Scheduled to run through my account in 3 days. The honeymoon resort. 5 nights at a luxury spa in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Final authorization required by tonight at 10 p.m. Without it, the reservation would be canceled. And the apartment lease. The one Sarah and Ethan had fallen in love with. The beautiful 2-bedroom in the historic district with the original hardwood floors and the balcony overlooking Monument Avenue. The apartment in the building where Tom had died. I hadn't known that when I'd signed as guarantor. Sarah had never told me. I'd only found out 2 weeks ago when I drove by to drop off some paperwork and recognized the building. She'd chosen that place deliberately, wanted to reclaim it somehow, make new memories where the worst memory had happened, and she'd never said a word to me about it. My phone buzzed again. I picked it up. A notification from the resort final cosigner authorization required by 10:00 p.m. EST. I looked at the time. 9:47. 13 minutes to decide. My thumb hovered over the authorize button. I thought about Sarah's face when she'd said those words. I wish you weren't my mother. I thought about the loan papers sitting in my desk drawer. $50,000 at 18% interest. Nearly a decade of payments. I thought about working 2 jobs until I was 70, 75, however long it took, for a daughter who was ashamed of me. And then I thought about something Bobby had said weeks ago. You're setting yourself on fire to keep her warm, and she doesn't even see the flames. At 9:51, I opened my email. I typed 3 messages, one to the resort coordinator, one to the venue manager, one to the apartment leasing office. I am withdrawing as financial guarantor effective immediately. Please update your records accordingly. Catherine Morrison. I hit send on all 3. Then I set my phone down and waited for the world to end. It didn't. The river kept flowing. The stars kept shining. My heart kept beating. I sat there for another hour, watching the water, feeling something I hadn't felt in 12 years. Free. Sarah stood in the bridal suite of the Omni Hotel, still in her wedding dress, watching her phone light up with notifications. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, his bow tie undone, his face unreadable. The resort says there's a problem with the authorization, Sarah said, her voice shaking. They're saying something about the guarantor being withdrawn. Ethan didn't respond. Ethan, did you hear me? I heard you. Well, what do we do? He looked up at her. What do we do? Sarah, what the hell happened tonight? I panicked. I didn't mean... You told your mother you wished she wasn't your mother, in front of 200 people. I know, Sarah's voice cracked. I know what I said, but she was going to make a scene. She always makes things about herself. Was she? Ethan stood up. Because from where I was sitting, she was just standing there. You're the one who ran to the microphone. You don't understand. You don't know what it's like to what? To have a mother who loves you, who worked herself to the bone to give you everything you wanted. Sarah felt tears burning her eyes. That's not fair. None of this is fair. Ethan pulled off his jacket. I just married a woman I'm not sure I know. The words hit like a slap. What's that supposed to mean? It means I thought I knew who you were. Kind, thoughtful, grateful. But tonight I saw someone else. Someone cruel. I'm not cruel. You humiliated your mother at your own wedding, Sarah. What else would you call it? Sarah's phone buzzed again. The apartment office this time. Application denied due to removal of guarantor. Please contact our office to discuss alternative arrangements. Her stomach dropped. The apartment. She canceled the apartment. Ethan's face went pale. What's She withdrew as guarantor. They're denying the application. Jesus. Ethan sat back down. When were you going to tell me your mother was covering our apartment? She wasn't covering it. She was just co-signing. Same thing? Sarah, I make good money. You make good money. Why did we need a co-signer? Sarah couldn't meet his eyes. The building has strict requirements. They wanted someone with established credit, and how much has your mother been paying for really silence? Sarah, how much? Most of it, she whispered. Most of the wedding, the honeymoon, the apartment deposit. Ethan stood up and walked to the window, looked out at the city lights. My mom said your mom offered to contribute. I thought that meant like 20 grand, maybe 30. It's more than that. How much more? Does it matter? He turned around. Yeah, it matters. Because my wife just destroyed the woman who gave her everything, and I need to understand why. Sarah sank onto the bed, her dress pooling around her like a white ocean. I was ashamed, she said quietly. Of what? Of her, of where I came from, of being the girl with the mom who works at the front desk and wears discount store dresses and doesn't know which fork to use at dinner. Ethan stared at her. You're ashamed of your mother. I was. I am. I don't know. Tears were streaming down her face now, ruining her makeup. You grew up in Windsor Farms. You went to private schools. You've never had to worry about money or what people think or whether you belong. So you decided to erase her. to pretend she didn't exist. I didn't erase her. You told everyone she was semi-retired, that she dabbled in antiques. You left her name off the programs. You sat her in the back at the rehearsal dinner. You didn't thank her in your speech. His voice was rising. And tonight, when she was finally going to have a moment, you shut her down, then told her you wished she wasn't your mother. Sarah covered her face with her hands. I'm sleeping on the couch, Ethan said quietly. Ethan, please. I need space, Sarah. I need to figure out if I just made the biggest mistake of my life. He grabbed a pillow and left the room. Sarah sat alone in her wedding dress at 3 a.m, mascara running down her face, watching her phone light up with disasters. The honeymoon, the apartment, the venue's final payment bouncing, everything falling apart. And the worst part, the part that made her chest physically ache, was that somewhere in Richmond her mother was sitting alone too, and Sarah had put her there. I woke up at 6 a.m. in my own bed. I'd driven home around midnight, made tea, and sat at my kitchen table until I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. Now, in the gray morning light, reality started to sink in. I'd canceled my daughter's honeymoon, her apartment, left her wedding payment in limbo. My phone had 37 missed calls. I'd turned off the sound around 2 a.m. I made coffee and opened my laptop to check my bank account. The $50,000 loan had hit yesterday. It sat there like a weight. But the automatic payment to the venue hadn't gone through yet. I'd stopped it just in time. My phone rang. Bobby, I answered. Thank God, he said. I've been calling all night. Are you okay? I'm fine. Where are you? Home. I'm coming over. Bobby, you don't need to. I'm already in my truck. He hung up. 20 minutes later, he was at my door with bagels and orange juice. We sat at my small kitchen table, the same one where Sarah and I had eaten countless breakfasts together. So, Bobby said, you want to tell me what you did last night after you left? I told him. About the contracts, the guarantees, the cancellations. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. Are you sure? He asked quietly. This is going to hurt her, Kate. I know. She's going to be furious. I know that too. Good. He took a bite of his bagel. Then you know what you're doing. Do I? I looked at him. Bobby, what if I'm wrong? What if this is just revenge? Is it? I thought about that. I don't think so. I think it's the only way she'll understand. Understand what? That I'm a person, not just a bank account, not just someone who exists to make her life easier. Bobby reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Tom would be proud of you, he said. I started to cry then. The first tears since I'd left the wedding. Would he? Because I keep thinking maybe he'd tell me I'm being cruel, that she's our daughter, that I should forgive her. Tom loved Sarah more than anything, but he loved you too, and he'd hate what she's become. She's not bad, Bobby. She's just lost. Then maybe this is how she finds her way back. My phone buzzed. Sarah, again. Mom, please call me. Everything is falling apart. The resort, the apartment. I don't understand what's happening. Bobby read the text over my shoulder. What are you going to do? I set the phone down. Nothing. Not yet. She's going to keep calling. Let her. At 10 a.m., my phone rang again. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Catherine, it's Victoria. Victoria Blake. I sat up straighter. Victoria. I hope I'm not intruding. I got your number from the wedding planner. I was wondering, could we meet for coffee, just the two of us? This was the last thing I'd expected. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Please, I know what happened last night was... I just need to speak with you. 30 minutes, that's all I'm asking. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe near the river. Victoria was already there when I arrived, looking somehow both elegant and tired in a cream sweater and jeans. She stood when she saw me. Thank you for coming. We sat down, ordered coffee neither of us would drink. I want to apologize, Victoria said. I blinked. Apologize? For my part in what happened, She paused, choosing her words carefully. I've been thinking about this all night, and I realized I encouraged Sarah's worst instincts. What do you mean? I made her feel like she had to be someone she wasn't to fit into our world. I pushed the fancy venue, the expensive dress, the perfect image. I treated the wedding like a performance instead of a celebration. She looked down at her untouched coffee. When Richard died, I poured everything into being the perfect society matron, the perfect hostess, the perfect representation of old Richmond money. It became my whole identity. And when Sarah came along, I saw her as, I'm ashamed to say this, as a project, someone I could mold. You were kind to her, I said quietly. She loved that you welcomed her. I welcomed a version of her, the version that dressed right and said the right things and hid anything that didn't fit the image. I didn't welcome all of her, including the part of her that came from you. The words hung between us. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I want to make it right. I want to help. I can cover the honeymoon, the apartment, whatever she needs. I set down my coffee cup. That's generous, Victoria, but it won't help Sarah. She looked surprised. What do you mean? She needs to fall. She needs to understand what scaffolding she's been standing on, what she's been taking for granted. But the apartment, I heard it's the building where Tom died, that it meant something to her. My breath caught. How did you know that? Oh, Sarah told me, months ago. She said she wanted to reclaim the space, make it somewhere beautiful instead of somewhere painful. I felt tears burn my eyes. She never told me that. Even that she kept from me. Victoria reached across the table and took my hand. I'm sorry, Catherine, for all of it, for not seeing what was happening, for not being a better ally to you. We sat in silence for a moment. Can I tell you something? Victoria said. Something I haven't told anyone. I nodded. 6 months ago, Sarah came to me in tears. She said she was terrified Ethan would leave her, that she wasn't good enough for him, that she came from nothing and everyone would see through her eventually. My heart broke. She said that she asked me to help her, to teach her how to fit in, how to be someone worthy of the Blake name. Victoria's voice cracked. And I did. I taught her all the wrong things. I taught her that image matters more than authenticity, that where you come from is something to hide. I'm so sorry. I pulled my hand back gently. Victoria, you didn't create this. It started long before you. What do you mean? When Tom died, I tried so hard to make up for what Sarah lost. I gave her everything I could. I never taught her that she was enough without all of it. I never taught her that love isn't measured in dollars or achievements or perfect performances. You gave her everything out of love. I did. But maybe that was wrong, too. Maybe both of us loved her in ways that hurt her. We sat with that truth. What do we do now? Victoria asked. We let her find her own way. We don't rescue her. We love her, but we don't enable her. She needs to own this. Victoria nodded slowly. That's going to be hard. For both of us. Being a mother usually is. Monday morning, I woke up with a strange sense of purpose. I'd spent Sunday in therapy. Yes, therapy. I'd been seeing Dr. Rachel Martinez for 3 months now, since right after I'd taken out the loan. Why did you make yourself small? She'd asked me in our first session. Because Sarah needed to be big, I'd answered. Now, sitting in Dr. Martinez's office, I told her everything that had happened. How do you feel? She asked. Guilty, relieved, scared, all of it. That's normal. You set a boundary, probably the first real boundary you've set with Sarah in years. What if I'm wrong? What if this destroys our relationship? Dr. Martinez leaned forward. Catherine, what relationship? The one where you erase yourself and she takes without acknowledging, or the one you're trying to build where you're both whole people? I didn't have an answer. That afternoon, I had to drop off some boxes at Sarah's office. Items that had been delivered to my apartment by mistake. Wedding favors, leftover ribbons, bits of a perfect day that was now in ruins. I walked into the gleaming downtown office building where Sarah worked, carrying a small cardboard box. I heard her voice before I saw her. Do you understand what she did? Sarah was saying, her voice sharp. My own mother sabotaged everything. The honeymoon, the apartment, the payments, all of it. She's why things are a mess. She did this on purpose. I stopped in the hallway. Sarah, a calm voice said. A woman. Your mother is standing right behind you. Sarah spun around. Her face went white. The office lobby had gone silent. Her coworkers stared. A woman in a business suit stepped forward. Ms. Morrison, I'm Jennifer Chen, Director of Human Resources. I nodded. Your daughter has informed us of some family difficulties. Before we proceed, I need to clarify something. She pulled out a tablet. You're listed as Sarah's emergency contact, relocation guarantor for our corporate housing assistance program, and a character reference. Is this correct? It was, I said quietly. Given what we've just heard, would you like these designations to remain? Sarah's face crumpled. No, Mom, just wait. I set the box on the reception desk. Remove my name from everything, I said. Mom, please. I was just venting. I didn't mean... You didn't mean what the things you said at your wedding, or the things you just said to your colleagues. Silence. Jennifer tapped her tablet. Done. Sarah, our corporate policy requires stable housing arrangements for employees in the partnership track. Without a verified guarantor, we'll need to revisit your current status. What does that mean? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. It means we're moving you from partner track to senior associate, effective immediately. We'll discuss the details in my office. I watched my daughter's world tilt. There's one more thing, I said. I pushed the box toward her. These were delivered to me. I assume they're yours. Sarah looked at the box, then at me. I'm sorry, she whispered. Mom, I'm so sorry. For my sake, I hope you are, I said. But sorry isn't the same as different. I turned to leave. Mom, wait, please. I stopped, looked back. Build your life without burning the hands that carried you, Sarah. That's all I'm asking. Then I walked out. Behind me, I heard someone start to cry. I didn't turn around. That evening, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Ethan standing there looking exhausted. Mr. Blake, I said, surprised. It's Ethan. Please, can I come in? I stepped aside, let him into my small apartment with its second-hand furniture and kitchen table from a yard sale. He looked around like he was seeing it for the first time, which I realized he was. He'd never been here before. Would you like some tea? I asked. That would be nice. Thank you. We sat at the kitchen table. I poured tea from the pot I'd made earlier. Ethan wrapped his hands around the cup. I need to understand something. Who is my wife? The question caught me off guard. What do you mean? I mean, he paused. I thought I knew Sarah, but in the last 3 days I've learned she lied to me. About money, about you, about where she came from. And I need to know, is this who she really is, or is there someone else underneath? I took a breath. Can I show you something? I went to my bedroom and came back with a photo album. The same one I'd given Sarah at the bridal shower, the one she'd set aside. I opened it to a picture of Sarah at 8 years old. Gap-toothed smile, messy pigtails, holding up a crayon drawing. This is who she really is, I said. A girl who used to make me dandelion crowns and call them diamonds, who cried for 6 months after her father died, who got bullied in middle school for wearing hand-me-downs. I turned the page. Sarah at 14, awkward and shy. She got a scholarship to private school. Suddenly she was around kids who'd never worried about money. She started coming home ashamed, not of what she had, but of what she didn't have. Another page, Sarah graduating from Harvard. I thought success would heal that wound. But it just made it bigger, because now she had something to protect. An image, a version of herself that didn't include where she came from. Ethan listened his eyes on the photos. I enabled it, I admitted. I gave her everything she wanted. Never made her face the cost. Never taught her that she was enough without all of it. How much did you really pay for the wedding? Ethan asked quietly. I told him. Everything. The venue, the dress, the honeymoon, the apartment deposit, the loan. His face went pale. $200,000. Give or take. Sarah told me you were contributing maybe 20. She said she had it covered. She didn't want you to know. She was ashamed that she needed help. Ethan set down his tea. I don't know what to do. I love her. But I feel like I married a stranger. You married someone who's been hiding for so long she's forgotten who she really is. But she's in there, Ethan. The real Sarah. The one who's terrified and wounded and trying so hard to be enough. What should I do? I reached across the table. Love her. But don't enable her. I made that mistake. Don't make it too. He nodded. I moved out. I'm staying with a friend. I think that's wise. Your brother, actually. Bobby. That surprised me. Bobby, he offered. Said I needed space to think. We've been talking about a lot of things. Like what? Like how easy it is to love someone and still hurt them. How you can be the victim and the villain in the same story. He looked at me. He told me about you. How you did the same thing to Sarah that she's doing to me. I felt my face flush. What do you mean? He said you hid yourself to make Sarah comfortable, made yourself smaller so she could be bigger, that it's a family pattern. The truth of it hit hard. He's right, I whispered. So how do we break the pattern? We stop hiding. We stop shrinking. We stop pretending love means erasing ourselves. Ethan stood up. Thank you for being honest with me. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but I know I can't go back to the way things were, even if that means... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Sarah Morrison Blake sat in a room at the Extended Stay America off Broad Street, eating takeout Chinese food and trying not to cry. Her wedding had been 14 days ago, 14 days since her life had fallen apart. The honeymoon resort had refunded their deposit minus a cancellation fee. The apartment in the historic district was gone rented to someone else within 48 hours. Ethan was still staying with Bobby. He'd agreed to couples counseling, but he was distant, careful, like he didn't trust her anymore. Her job had been downgraded. The pay cut was significant, $30,000 a year. Her fancy office was now a shared cubicle. Her colleagues whispered when she walked by. And her mother. Her mother hadn't called, hadn't texted, hadn't reached out at all. Sarah had tried. God, she'd tried. But every call went to voicemail, every text unanswered. For the first time in her adult life, Sarah was struggling financially. The extended stay hotel was cheap, but it was still $400 a week. She'd had to cancel her gym membership, her twice-monthly salon appointments, her standing reservation at her favorite restaurant. She was shopping at Target instead of Nordstrom. And the shame of it, the deep burning shame, was different now. Before she'd been ashamed of not having enough. Now she was ashamed of taking for granted what she'd had. That evening a box arrived, delivered to her office. Sarah opened it with shaking hands. Inside were her childhood belongings, things her mother had kept. Report cards, art projects, birthday cards handmade with construction paper and glitter. And at the bottom, an envelope. The note from the wedding morning, still sealed. Sarah's hands trembled as she opened it. My darling Sarah, today you marry a man who looks at you with wonder and respect. Hold on to that. Love like that is rare and precious. I've watched you grow into a woman I barely recognize sometimes. Brilliant, accomplished, polished in ways I could never be. I'm so proud. But I wonder if I did this to you, if I taught you that love comes with conditions, that belonging requires you to hide parts of yourself. If I did, I'm sorry. You will always be the girl who made me dandelion crowns and called them diamonds. You are enough exactly as you are, not because of what you've achieved or who you've married, but because you're mine. I love you, even when you don't want me to, Mom. Sarah read it 3 times. Then she put her head down on her cheap hotel desk and sobbed. Sarah found her mother at the James River Overlook. She'd driven there on impulse, remembering it was where they used to go when she was small, where they'd eaten sandwiches and watched the boats. Catherine sat on a bench looking out at the water. Sarah approached slowly, like her mother might disappear if she moved too fast. Mom! Catherine turned. Her face was calm, unreadable. Sarah, can I sit? It's a public bench. Sarah sat down, leaving space between them. They watched the river in silence. I read your note, Sarah finally said. Did you? I'm sorry, for all of it. The wedding, the things I said, the way I treated you. I know you are. Then why won't you answer my calls? Catherine looked at her, really looked at her. Because sorry isn't enough, Sarah. Sorry is words. I need to see change. I am changing. I lost my promotion. I'm living in a hotel. Ethan barely speaks to me. I'm shopping at Target, for God's sake. And that's my fault. Sarah stopped. What, is it my fault that you built your life on lies, that you were ashamed of me, that you pushed away the people who loved you to maintain an image? No, it's my fault, I know that. Then why does it sound like you're blaming me for not saving you from the consequences? The words hit like a slap. I'm not, Sarah's voice broke. I just need you, Mom. I need my mom. The same mom you wished wasn't your mother. Sarah flinched. I didn't mean it. I was scared and overwhelmed and... You meant it, Catherine said quietly. Maybe not forever. Maybe not in your heart of hearts. But in that moment you meant it. You've been wishing I was different for years, Sarah. The wedding was just the first time you said it out loud. Sarah felt tears streaming down her face. I don't know how to fix this. Neither do I. Catherine stood up. But I know I can't be the one to fix it for you. That's the whole problem. I've been fixing things for so long that you never learned how to fix them yourself. So what do I do? Catherine pulled out an envelope, handed it to Sarah. What is this? The deed to the apartment building where your father died. Sarah's breath stopped. How do you... I bought it 3 years ago as an investment property. What? I own the building, Sarah. I've owned it for years. I bought it because I couldn't stand the thought of strangers owning the place where I lost everything, where you lost your father. Sarah stared at the envelope, unable to process. When you applied to live there, I knew. I signed as guarantor because I owned the building. The application was just a formality. Why didn't you tell me? Because you never asked. You never told me why you wanted that apartment. We both kept secrets, Sarah. Mine, yours. We both hid ourselves. Catherine started walking toward her car. Mom, wait. What do I do? How do I make this right? Catherine paused. You want to earn me back? Then earn it. Not with apologies, with honesty. Tell Ethan everything. Tell Victoria. Tell your office. Own who you are and where you came from. Then we'll talk. She got in her car and drove away. Sarah stood there holding the deed to a building she'd never known her mother owned. And for the first time she understood how little she actually knew about the woman who'd given her everything. 3 days after the conversation at the river, Sarah stood outside Bobby's garage. Her hands were shaking. She'd rehearsed what to say 100 times, but now standing here all the words felt inadequate. The garage door was open. She could see Ethan inside working on an old Mustang with Bobby. They were laughing about something. She hadn't heard Ethan laugh in weeks. Bobby saw her first. His smile faded. Ethan, he said quietly, you've got company. Ethan looked up, saw Sarah. His face went carefully neutral. I'll give you two some privacy, Bobby said. He wiped his hands on a rag and headed toward the office, but not before shooting Sarah a look that said, don't you dare hurt him again. Sarah walked into the garage. It smelled like motor oil and coffee. Hi, she said. Hi. Silence stretched between them. Can we talk? Sarah asked. Isn't that what we're doing? I mean really talk. No defenses, no excuses, just truth. Ethan set down his wrench, leaned against the workbench. Okay, talk. Sarah took a deep breath. Everything you think you know about me is half a lie. His eyebrows raised. That's a hell of an opening. I grew up poor, not just middle class. Poor. After my dad died, my mom worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. We ate spaghetti for dinner 5 nights a week because it was cheap. I wore hand-me-downs from the church donation box. I qualified for free lunch at school. She watched his face. No judgment there, just listening. Kids bullied me, every single day. They called my mom a janitor, said we lived in the ghetto, made jokes about my clothes smelling like thrift stores. Her voice cracked, but she pushed through. When I got the scholarship to private school, I thought everything would change, but it was worse. Because now I was around kids who summered in the Hamptons, whose parents drove Mercedes, who'd never worried about money in their entire lives. Sarah, please, let me finish. She wiped her eyes. I learned to lie. Small lies at first. I said my mom worked in antiques, not that she was a bookkeeper at an antique shop. I said we lived in Church Hill, not that we lived in a basement apartment in Church Hill. I taught myself to talk differently, dress differently, be different. Ethan's jaw tightened. By the time I got to Harvard, I was so good at it, I didn't even know I was doing it anymore. The lies became who I was. And when I met you, she looked at him. You were everything I thought I needed to be complete. Old money, established family, the kind of life I'd been pretending to have. So you lied to me, too. Yes, about how much my mom was paying for the wedding, about the apartment, about everything. How much did she pay Sarah total? I want to know the number. Sarah swallowed hard. Just over $200,000. Ethan's face went white. Jesus Christ. She took out a $50,000 personal loan at 18% interest. She'll be paying it off for the next decade. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was ashamed. Because you would have offered to help and I couldn't stand the thought of you knowing how much I needed it. Because I wanted you to think I had my life together. I don't care about any of that. His voice rose. I care that you lied to me, that you humiliated your mother at our wedding, that you've spent our entire relationship pretending to be someone you're not. I know. Tears were streaming down her face now. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Are you? Or are you just sorry you got caught? The question hung in the air. I don't know, Sarah whispered. I thought I knew. But sitting in that hotel room, losing everything, I realized I don't even know who I am anymore. I've been lying for so long I forgot what the truth looks like. Ethan ran his hands through his hair. I can't do this right now. Ethan, please. No. Sarah, I need time. I need to figure out if I can trust you again. If I even want to try. What does that mean? He looked at her and his eyes were full of pain. It means I don't know if I want to stay married to you. The words hit like a physical blow. But I love you, Sarah said desperately. I know, I love you too. But love isn't enough. Not without trust, not without honesty. Then let me earn it back, please. Give me a chance to show you I can change. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Couples therapy, twice a week, and you tell your mother everything you just told me, face to face, not because I'm making you, because you want to. Okay, yes, anything. And you figure out who you really are, Sarah, because I can't be married to someone who doesn't even know herself. He picked up his wrench and turned back to the Mustang. The conversation was over. Sarah walked out of the garage with her heart in pieces, but something else, too, a tiny spark of hope. The next day, Sarah drove to Windsor Farms. Victoria's housekeeper answered the door, looking surprised to see her. Mrs. Blake is in the garden. Sarah found Victoria among the roses, wearing gardening gloves and a sun hat. Sarah, Victoria straightened up. I wasn't expecting you. I know. I should have called. I'm sorry. It's fine. Victoria pulled off her gloves. Would you like some tea? They sat on the patio overlooking the manicured lawn. Victoria poured from a silver tea service that probably cost more than Sarah's car. I need to tell you something, Sarah said, and it's not going to be easy to hear. Victoria set down the teapot. I'm listening. I've been lying to you since the day we met about who I am, where I come from, all of it. She told Victoria everything. The poverty, the bullying, the shame, the lies she'd built her life on. Victoria listened without interrupting. When Sarah finished, she braced herself for anger, disappointment, rejection. Instead, Victoria reached across the table and took her hand. I know, she said quietly. Sarah blinked. What? I've known for months. Your mother told me. We had coffee after a few things became clear. She told you, not to hurt you, to help me understand, to ask me to stop pushing you to be something you weren't. Victoria's voice was soft. I'm the one who should apologize, Sarah. You why? Because I saw myself in you, a young woman trying desperately to fit into a world that felt out of reach. When I married Richard, I wasn't from money either. My father was a school teacher. My mother worked at a library. Sarah stared at her. I had no idea. No one does, because I spent 40 years hiding it, perfecting my accent, learning which fork to use, reading all the right books and saying all the right things. She squeezed Sarah's hand. And when you came along, I did to you what was done to me. I taught you that image matters more than truth. I'm so sorry. Victoria, I should have told you that you were enough, that Ethan fell in love with you, not some polished version of you. That belonging doesn't mean erasing yourself. They sat in silence for a moment. Your mother is an extraordinary woman, Victoria said. Do you know she owns the building where Tom died? She told me. I still can't process it. She bought it so strangers wouldn't own the place where she lost everything. That's not weakness, Sarah. That's strength. The kind of strength that comes from facing pain, not hiding from it. Sarah felt tears building again. I don't know how to fix this. Yes, you do. You start by being honest. With Ethan. With yourself. With your mother. Victoria stood up. And you let me help. Not with money. With truth. I'll go with you to your mother if you want. I'll tell her how I contributed to this mess. You'd do that? Of course. We're family now. And family means showing up, even when it's hard. Sarah stood and hugged Victoria. For the first time, it felt real. Damn. Monday morning, Sarah requested a meeting with Jennifer Chen. She walked into the HR office with her stomach in knots. Jennifer looked up from her computer. Sarah, have a seat. Sarah sat, folded her hands in her lap to stop them shaking. I need to make a confession, she said, about what you heard last week, about my mother, about everything. Jennifer leaned back in her chair. I'm listening. I lied to this firm when I applied. Not directly, but by omission. I listed my mother as a guarantor and character reference, but I misrepresented our relationship. I made it seem like she was financially stable and uninvolved when the truth is she's been supporting me my entire life. She took a breath. I also misrepresented my background. I let people assume I came from money, that my education was fully funded by my family, that I grew up with advantages I didn't have. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm tired of lying. Because I humiliated my mother and myself by trying to be someone I'm not. And because if I'm going to rebuild my life, I need to do it on a foundation of truth. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. Are you resigning? If that's what you need me to do, I will. But I'm hoping for a chance to prove myself. Not as who I pretended to be, as who I actually am. And who is that? Someone who grew up poor, who worked her way through school on scholarships and student loans, who has a mother who sacrifices everything for her, even when she doesn't deserve it. Sarah's voice strengthened. Someone who's made terrible mistakes but wants to do better. Jennifer tapped her pen against her desk. The demotion stands, she finally said. You violated our housing assistance policy. That has consequences. I understand. But, Jennifer's expression softened slightly. I respect what you just did. Coming in here owning your mistakes. That takes courage. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You're going to have to rebuild your reputation here from scratch. Your colleagues know what happened. Some of them won't forgive easily. I know. Good. Then get to work. Sarah stood up, shook Jennifer's hand. As she walked back to her cubicle, Marcus, a senior partner, stopped her in the hallway. Morrison, I heard what you did. Sarah braced herself. Yes, sir. That took guts. Keep it up. He walked away. It was a small thing, a tiny crack in the wall of judgment, but it was something. While Sarah was confessing her sins, Catherine was having her own reckoning. She sat in Dr. Martinez's office, the same therapist she'd been seeing for months. I've been thinking about what you said, Catherine began, about making myself small. And you were right. I've spent 12 years erasing myself, first for Tom's memory, then for Sarah. I told myself it was love, but it was also fear. Fear of what? Of not being needed, of being alone. Tom was the love of my life. When he died, a part of me died too. Sarah became my whole world, my reason to get up in the morning, my purpose. Dr. Martinez nodded. And when Sarah didn't need you anymore, I panicked. I tried to make myself indispensable. I paid for things she could have managed on her own. I solved problems she needed to solve herself. I taught her that my love came with a price tag. What are you going to do differently? Catherine pulled out a piece of paper. I made a list. She read it aloud. 1, quit the inn job. Keep the antique shop because I love it, not because I need the money. 2, pay off the loan over time but stop taking on debt for other people. 3, take the art class I've been putting off for 20 years. 4, say yes to dinner with David Chen. Dr. Martinez smiled. David Chen, the owner of the antique shop. He's been asking me out for 6 months. I've always said no because I thought I didn't have time, or because I felt guilty like I was betraying Tom. And now I think Tom would want me to be happy. He'd want me to have a life that's mine, not just in service to everyone else. That's beautiful growth, Catherine. I'm also going to set boundaries with Sarah. Real ones. I'll help her when she needs help, but I won't rescue her from consequences. I won't enable her. How does that feel? Terrifying and freeing. 6 weeks after the wedding, Sarah sent out an invitation. You're invited to a post-wedding brunch at the James River Country Club. Please join us for a celebration and an important announcement. 200 people received the invitation. Most of them came out of curiosity. Sarah stood at the entrance greeting guests. She wore a simple dress from Target. No designer labels. No pretense. Ethan stood beside her, cautious but present. They'd been in therapy 3 times a week, slowly rebuilding. Victoria was there looking elegant but warm. Bobby came with his new girlfriend. Even Jennifer Chen from Sarah's office attended. And at a table near the front, Catherine Morrison sat alone. Sarah had sent her a personal invitation. Please come, Mom. I need you there. Catherine had almost said no, but something in Sarah's voice when she'd called a genuine humility she hadn't heard in years made her change her mind. When everyone was seated, Sarah walked to the microphone. Her hands shook, but she took a deep breath and began. Thank you all for coming. I know this is unusual, a post-wedding brunch 6 weeks after the actual wedding, but I needed to gather you all here because I owe you an apology. The room went quiet. At my wedding, I said something unforgivable to my mother. Sarah's voice cracked. In front of all of you, I told her I wished she wasn't my mother. People shifted uncomfortably. I said it because I was ashamed, not of her, of myself, of where I came from, of who I really am. She saw her mother's face. Catherine was crying quietly. I grew up poor. My father died when I was 12, leaving us with nothing but debt. My mother worked 3 jobs to put food on the table and send me to school. I wore donated clothes. I qualified for free lunch. I was bullied relentlessly for being the poor kid. Sarah paused, wiping her eyes. When I got to private school, then Harvard, then this life, I learned to hide. I learned to lie. I pretended I came from money, from stability, from a family that looked like yours. She looked around the room. My mother paid for almost everything at my wedding, nearly $200,000. She took out loans. She worked until exhaustion. She sacrificed everything. Gasps rippled through the crowd. And I erased her. I put her name in small print on the programs. I sat her in the back at the rehearsal dinner. I didn't thank her in my speech, because I wanted you all to think I belonged in this world without her. Sarah turned to Catherine. Mom, I can't undo what I said. I can't give you back the years I spent being ashamed of the most selfless person I've ever known, but I can tell the truth now. She walked toward her mother's table. You are the strongest person I know. You raised me alone. You gave me everything. You taught me what real sacrifice looks like, even though I was too blind to see it. Sarah knelt beside her mother's chair. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for a chance to earn it back. Not with words, with actions, with honesty, with the rest of my life if that's what it takes. The room was silent. Catherine looked at her daughter, at this woman who'd hurt her so deeply, but who was finally being real. Stand up, Catherine said quietly. Sarah stood. Catherine stood too. That took courage, she said. Thank you. She didn't hug Sarah, not yet, but she nodded. A small acknowledgement. It was a beginning. Victoria started to clap. Slow at first, then building. Others joined. Not everyone. Some people left uncomfortable with the raw honesty, but enough stayed. Enough witnessed. Sarah returned to the microphone. I'm telling you all this because I want my daughter to grow up differently. Confusion rippled through the crowd. I'm pregnant, Sarah said. 8 weeks. We just found out. Ethan's face lit up. This was clearly news to most of the room. And I want my daughter to know her grandmother's real story. Not the edited version, the truth. I want her to know that strength isn't about money or status or perfect performances. It's about showing up. About sacrifice. About love that doesn't demand perfection. She looked at Catherine. That's the legacy I want to give her. The one you gave me even when I couldn't see it. Catherine's hand went to her mouth. She was crying harder now. This time when Sarah walked toward her, Catherine opened her arms. They embraced in front of 200 people, and for the first time in years, there were no lies between them. 8 months later at 3 in the morning, Catherine's phone rang. Mom, Sarah's voice was panicked. Mom, something's wrong. Catherine sat up in bed, instantly awake. What is it? I'm bleeding. The baby Ethan's taking me to the hospital. Can you meet us there? I'm on my way. Catherine threw on clothes and drove to VCU Medical Center through empty streets. She found Ethan in the waiting room, his face white with fear. They took her back, he said. They're checking the baby's heartbeat. She's 34 weeks. If they have to deliver, she's going to be fine, Catherine said firmly. Both of them are. But inside she was terrified. They waited. Bobby showed up. Then Victoria. An hour passed. 2. Finally a doctor emerged. Family of Sarah Blake. They all stood. The baby's heartbeat is strong. We've stabilized Sarah, but we're going to need to do an emergency C-section. The placenta is separating. If we wait, we could lose them both. Catherine's knees went weak. Ethan caught her. Can I see her? He asked. Briefly. We're prepping now. Ethan disappeared through the double doors. Catherine, Bobby, and Victoria sat back down. She's going to be okay, Victoria said, but her voice shook. She has to be, Catherine whispered. Bobby took her hand. Remember when Sarah was born, you were in labor for 18 hours. Tom was freaking out, but you were so calm, so strong. I was terrified. But you didn't show it. You just kept breathing, kept focusing. You've got that same strength now. The surgery took 2 hours. Catherine paced the hallway, prayed, made deals with God she wasn't sure she believed in. Finally, Ethan emerged. His face was wet with tears, but he was smiling. She's here, the baby. Catherine rose, 6 pounds 2 ounces. Perfect. Relief flooded through her. And Sarah? Tired, scared, but okay. He looked at Catherine. She's asking for you. Catherine followed him back to recovery. Sarah lay in the hospital bed, pale and exhausted, but cradling a tiny bundle wrapped in pink. Mom, she whispered. Catherine approached slowly. Meet your granddaughter. Catherine rose. We're calling her Katie. Catherine looked down at the tiny face, perfect button nose, wisps of dark hair. She's beautiful. We named her after you. Both names. Catherine for you. Rose because that's what you used to call me when I was little. Your little Rose. Catherine had forgotten that, but hearing it now she remembered. Bedtime stories, goodnight kisses. Sleep tight, my little Rose. Can I hold her? Catherine asked. Sarah handed her the baby carefully. Katie fit perfectly in Catherine's arms, like she belonged there. I'm sorry it took me so long, Sarah whispered. To see what I had, to appreciate you, to be honest. You're here now. That's what matters. I want to do better. I want Katie to know her grandmother, the real you. I want to tell her stories about how you worked 3 jobs and never complained, how you made dandelion crowns and called them diamonds, how you loved me even when I didn't deserve it. Catherine kissed Katie's forehead. You always deserved it, Sarah. You just needed to learn that love doesn't mean perfection. It means showing up, honestly, even when it's hard. Will you teach me how to be the kind of mother you were? I'll teach you to be better than I was, to set boundaries, to let her fall sometimes, to love her without erasing yourself. Sarah nodded. Deal. Katie's second birthday party was held in Catherine's backyard, not the small apartment in Shockoe Bottom. Catherine had bought a house, a real house with a garden and a porch and room for family dinners. She'd used the money from selling the building where Tom died. She'd held on to it long enough. It was time to let go. Sarah and Ethan lived nearby in a modest townhouse. No more pretenses. No more lies. Sarah had been promoted back to senior partner at the firm, on her own merit this time, with her real story known. Ethan had started a nonprofit helping low-income families with housing, inspired by Sarah's story, by Catherine's sacrifice. And today the backyard was full of people. Bobby and his girlfriend, now fiancée. Victoria, who'd become a real grandmother to Katie, not just in name but in presence. David Chen, Catherine's boyfriend of 18 months. Kind, patient David, who loved antiques and quiet evenings and Catherine's laugh. Sarah's colleagues from work. Real friends now, not just professional contacts. And Katie. Beautiful, bright Katie running through the garden in a yellow dress, chasing bubbles. Catherine stood on the porch, watching it all. Sarah came up beside her. Thank you for today, Mom. For all of this? It's her birthday. Of course I'd throw her a party. I don't mean the party. I mean everything. The second chances, the honesty, teaching me that I don't have to hide. Catherine put her arm around her daughter. You taught me too, that I don't have to erase myself to love you, that we can both take up space. Katie ran up to them, sticky with cake. Gamma Gamma, look. She held up a dandelion, yellow and bright. It's beautiful, sweetheart, Catherine said. Katie placed it carefully in Catherine's hand. It's a diamond. For you. Catherine looked at Sarah. Sarah was crying. I told her that story, Sarah whispered, about how I used to make you dandelion crowns. Catherine knelt down to Katie's level. Do you know what? You're absolutely right. It is a diamond, the most precious kind. Katie beamed and ran off to find more. Sarah and Catherine stood together watching her. Are we okay? Sarah asked quietly. Really okay. Catherine thought about it, about the wedding, the words, the pain, the long road back. We're getting there, she said, one day at a time, one truth at a time. That's enough for me. They hugged on the porch while Katie played in the garden and family laughed around them. And Catherine felt something she hadn't felt in years, whole. Later that evening, after everyone had gone home, Catherine sat in her new living room. David had left earlier, kissing her goodnight with a promise to call tomorrow. She held Katie's dandelion, now wilted but still precious. On the coffee table sat a photo from today. 3 generations. Catherine, Sarah, Katie, all smiling, all present, no one performing. Her phone buzzed, a text from Sarah. Thank you for today, Mom, for everything. I love you, all of you, every part. Catherine smiled and typed back. I love you too, sweetheart. Sleep well, my little rose. She set down her phone and looked around her house, at the art she'd painted hanging on the walls, at the books she was reading for pleasure, not just to pass time, at the life she'd built that was hers, not in service to anyone else, just hers. She thought about something Dr. Martinez had said in their last session. You know what true love is, Catherine? It's not sacrifice. It's partnership. It's both people being whole, taking up space, choosing each other not because they need to, but because they want to. Catherine had that now, with Sarah, with David, with herself. She'd spent so many years thinking love meant disappearing, but she'd learned the truth. Love meant showing up, honestly, wholly, unapologetically. That was the legacy she'd give Katie. Not perfection, not pretense, just truth. And that she thought settling back into her chair was more than enough. They say you can't go home again, but sometimes you don't go back. You build something new, something honest, something that looks like home but feels like freedom. And that's where you belong. What would you do if you were Catherine? Have you ever had to set boundaries with someone you love? Comment below and let me know what city you're watching from. And if this story touched your heart, there are 2 other channel favorites you won't want to miss. Thank you for being here.